When you think of weddings, they're supposed to be joyful, right? A once-in-a-lifetime moment filled with laughter, love, and happy tears. For most people, that's the case. But for me, coming from a fractured family, nothing is ever that simple. I'm 31, and in 2 months, I'll be marrying the love of my life, a wonderful man who's brought so much happiness into my life. We've been planning our special day for over a year, and everything was falling into place perfectly. My dad, who has always been there for me, insisted on helping out financially, allowing us to have the elegant, grand wedding I'd always dreamed of. Finally, it was happening. Then came the call from my mom. We don't talk that often, so I was surprised to hear from her. After my parents divorced when I was just 5, life became a constant tug-of-war between the two. Mom moved on quickly, remarrying within a year and having my half-sister, Bernie, with her new husband. Although my parents shared custody, I spent most of my time with Dad. Our bond strengthened over the years, while my relationship with Mom became distant and strained. Bernie became the golden child, the center of Mom's world. And I was just another part of her past. Mom's call was cheerful, almost forced, and from experience, I knew that tone only came out when she had something unpleasant to discuss. "Sweetie, I have wonderful news," she exclaimed. "Guess what? Bernie got engaged." I was caught off guard. I didn't even know Bernie was dating anyone, let alone serious about marriage. We aren't close, so it didn't surprise me. I was out of the loop. Still, I congratulated Mom, although I couldn't shake off the feeling she had a hidden agenda. Why was she calling me specifically about this? Then she got to the point, lowering her voice. "Bernie and her fiancé are on a really tight budget," she explained. "They want a nice wedding but can't afford much. So we had an idea. What if Bernie and her fiancé got married on the same day and at the same place as you? Just a small ceremony in the morning, and then you'd have your big celebration in the afternoon. It would save so much money for everyone." I couldn't believe it. My own mother was asking me to share the wedding day I'd been meticulously planning for over a year with a half-sister I barely have a relationship with. I thought she was joking. "Absolutely not, Mom. This is my wedding day," I replied firmly, "not a family reunion or some budget-sharing scheme. I won't share it with anyone, let alone Bernie." "I'm sorry, but my answer is no." Her cheerful tone vanished, replaced by frustration. "Bernie and her fiancé really can't afford something like yours," she insisted. "Wouldn't it be nice if you could help out? You have to understand how hard this is for us, not being able to give her what she deserves. It's not much to ask." I was furious. "Mom, I don't owe her anything. If she can't afford a big wedding, she should have a small one. But I'm not giving up the one day that's supposed to be about me." I hung up, thinking that would be the end of it. But I was wrong. Over the next few weeks, Mom wouldn't stop calling or texting, pleading with me to reconsider. She used every trick in the book, from guilt-tripping me to emotional manipulation. "Wouldn't it be wonderful for you two to share this special day?" she argued. "After all, she's your sister." "We're not close," I replied sharply. "And that's fine with me. I accepted a long time ago that Bernie and I won't have that bond." Then she shifted tactics, trying to make me feel guilty. "You and your father have so much, and your wedding will be beautiful and expensive. Don't you think it's a bit selfish to keep it all to yourself? Your sister is struggling to plan a wedding, and we're going through tough times." At that, I snapped. "I'm not responsible for her finances. If she can't afford a big wedding, then let her have a small one. But I'm not sacrificing my special day to bail her out." After that, I stopped answering her calls, feeling mentally drained from the constant drama. Despite the drama, my fiancé remained a source of calm. He listened, supported me, and reassured me, saying he'd stand by whatever decision I made. But even he wasn't spared. Mom eventually tried to approach him, repeating the same plea. "Couldn't we arrange the ceremony in the morning for Bernie?" she asked him sweetly. "Your wedding could be in the afternoon. It'll be a family gathering." My fiancé politely declined, promising to check with me. Furious, I called Mom and warned her to back off, threatening to uninvite her if she didn't stop her relentless pursuit. She cried and apologized, claiming it was a mistake, but I knew better. This wasn't about genuine remorse. She'd say anything to get what she wanted. A few days later, my aunt called in a panic. "Have you seen Bernie's wedding invitation?" she asked. I hadn't. Apparently, Bernie had already sent invitations with the same date and location as my wedding, making it look like a joint event. In shock, I drove to confront Mom, throwing the invitation at her. "Explain this," I demanded. Mom broke down, tearfully admitting, "I thought I could convince you, but I couldn't. Bernie sent out the invitations anyway. Now everyone expects a wedding that day, and if we cancel, the humiliation will be unbearable." I stared at her, stunned at the betrayal. She'd promised my wedding date and venue without ever consulting me. "I told you no from the start. You chose to ignore me. If Bernie's wedding is canceled, that's her problem, not mine." I left her house, determined to cut her off from my wedding. Finally, my wedding day arrived. With my dad's support, I ensured Mom and Bernie were banned from the venue. There were no intrusions or unwanted guests. The day was everything I'd dreamed of: beautiful, intimate, and filled with love from the people who genuinely cared about us. A week after my wedding, I returned home, thinking the drama was behind me. But then my dad called, exasperated. "Your mom called, trying to convince me to ask you to bring Bernie on your honeymoon to make up for her canceled wedding," he said, incredulous. I laughed at the absurdity, grateful my dad saw through her scheme. The next day, Mom and Bernie even showed up at the airport, luggage in hand, hoping to surprise us and join our honeymoon. My husband and I managed to avoid them, leaving without any further confrontations. After we returned, Bernie tried to reach out to my husband directly, sending him flirtatious texts and even suggestive photos. Outraged, I sent her a blunt response. "You can't have everything you want, Bernie. Some things just aren't yours to take." It wasn't the most graceful response, but I was beyond caring. In the end, I realized something important. Sometimes, family ties can be as toxic as they are binding. Setting boundaries, even if it means cutting people off, is sometimes the only way to protect yourself. My wedding may not have been as simple as I'd planned, but it was still perfect, and it was entirely mine.